Okay, we're back. Spoiler warning is in effect. Please do not post spoilers in the chat room, out of courtesy for those who don't like to be spoiled. And we have a winter finale episode here tonight. Because we got 3 shows airing their winter finales, which means it's also the winter finale of this live stream show that I do. So, by the way, I just found out Total Nonstop Deletion is going to be next Thursday, which is also the same night as the early screenings of Star Wars Rogue One. Wow. That is an unfortunate coincidence. As much as I'm excited for Total Nonstop Deletion, I got my Rogue One ticket like 2 weeks ago. So I know what I'm going to be doing Thursday night. And it won't be staying home watching wrestling. I'll have to watch that after the fact. Any hoodly doodle. Let's get this show a-rolling. Starting with... Oh, boy. The Flash. Season 3, Episode 9. The Present. Barry goes to see Jay Garrick on Earth 3 to get advice about Savitar. Alchemy starts doing a thing, so the 2 Flashes go to stop him. Savitar shows up, but Barry puts the Philosopher's Stone in a magic box, which seems to fix everything immediately, and he learns that Julian is Alchemy, to the shock of no one, except Barry. So they find out that Julian hasn't really been in control of himself when he becomes Alchemy. Barry reveals his identity to him. They hook Julian up to some gizmo to talk to Savitar, and find out that future Barry trapped Savitar in eternity, whatever the hell that means. Cisco's dead brother appears to him and makes him open a box, the magic box, which releases Savitar. While he saves Barry from Savitar, Cisco closes the box, which traps Savitar again. They decide to throw the box into the Speed Force, but Barry accidentally travels a few months into the future where he sees Savitar murder Iris, which Barry then decides to not tell the team about because, God forbid, they have time to prepare to do something about this when it happens. No. Apparently, Barry thinks it's a better idea to do absolutely nothing. Because Barry is a dumbass. So they all get together for Christmas. Julian lets Barry back on the Force. Wally gets his Kid Flash costume. Barry and Iris move in together. And I guess Barry is just going to keep that little tidbit about Iris being murdered to himself. You know, if I found out that my girlfriend was going to be murdered in a few months, I'd fucking tell somebody. Like, immediately. I'll get to that. Wow. You know, it's the holiday season. We're coming off that huge 4-part Heroes vs. Aliens crossover event that was so bad. So bad. So, I wasn't asking for a lot here. I really wasn't. A Christmas-themed episode. You bring Mark Hamill back as the trickster for a little holiday fun. You drink some eggnog, open some presents, and you call it a day. But they just couldn't let me off easy, could they? Because just when Barry has become such a monster that he's leveled up to causing genocides across the galaxy, and you think he couldn't possibly get any worse, he somehow manages to prove us wrong yet again. Although, maybe I shouldn't complain, since this time Barry's reprehensible, monstrous behavior might lead to Iris getting killed off. And if it means I don't have to waste time on her anymore, then maybe this means Barry is finally using his evil powers for good. It's the first time for everything, I guess. But let's not get ahead of ourselves just yet. Last week's episode sucked. Hard. If you were looking for a textbook example of how not to write likable characters, that was it. So really, it could only get better from there. And in large part it did. Now, anytime they bring back John Wesley Shipp, it's a great thing. Whether he's playing Barry's dad or Jay Garrick, he's a very welcome presence. And he's far more likable than Barry will ever be, so that doesn't hurt. Also, all the stuff with Julian was surprisingly good as well, minus the silly Indiana Jones hat. I'm surprised how much this character has grown on me, actually. And I'm glad there was a twist that he wasn't technically evil, but actually just as much of a victim as anybody else. He didn't even know he was alchemy. Okay, it didn't make the twist that he was alchemy any less pathetically obvious, but I like that he turned out to be a good guy. That's not the route the show usually takes. Them using Julian to talk to Savitar was pretty creepy also. Sure, they had to spoil it by him letting Barry back onto the Force and all, but Julian came out of this episode looking nicely sympathetic, and I'll give them credit for that. Even though they did step into a little bit too far into Game of Thrones territory with the prophecy, that's a little too Game of Thrones, a little too Harry Potter for this show. One will die. No, I think it was no. One will betray you, one will die, and one will wish they were dead, or something like that. But because Savitar likes to speak in riddles and prophecies and whatnot, apparently. Okay. But hey, the Julian stuff, it was good. So I'm willing to be generous and give them credit for that much. That part came out well. But then there's all the usual plot holes and contrivances that we have to deal with on the show on a weekly fucking basis. First of all, Jay Garrick explains that Savitar only showed up in the first place because Barry had become powerful enough to challenge him, which apparently is a pretty rare thing and a really big deal. So when they go to confront Alchemy and Savitar shows up, the first thing Jay does is he says that he's going to be the one to fight Savitar while Barry takes on Alchemy. Now, if you're wondering why Barry wasn't the one fighting Savitar, when Jay just finished explaining that Barry is the one powerful enough to challenge Savitar, well, so was I. Wouldn't that have made more sense? Yes, it would have. And that's probably why they didn't do it. Because it's The Flash. They don't like doing things that make sense on this show. So, anyway, Barry takes Draco Malfoy's Philosopher's Stone and he puts it in the magic box, which stops Savitar immediately. Which is odd. If it's that easy to stop Savitar, why wouldn't he just... Why is he carrying the magic box around with him? Why not just throw it away? I don't know. I kind of thought there'd be more to it than this, but, whatever. Meanwhile, Cisco is hallucinating his brother, who is encouraging him to open the box, which will bring him back to life somehow. He says this. And even though Cisco really should be smarter than that, he opens the box like an idiot. And I'm sorry, but this whole thing rings false to me. It's been like 6 months or more since the Flashpoint change and Cisco's brother died, and Cisco is still really broken up about this, still so desperate to get his brother back that he's basically taking leave of his senses and doing something that he has to know is insane, is probably a trick, not to mention will release this evil speed god just for the chance to get his brother back. Did I miss something here? Cisco and his brother barely had a relationship. I mean, they'd only seemed to talk a couple of times in the last 3 years, and they weren't exactly what I'd call close. So the fact that Cisco has been this affected by his brother's death and would do something so stupid because he just wants him back that much, I just didn't buy that. And then there's the Wally stuff. I am really glad that this thing with everyone trying to stop Wally from doing anything to help seems to be done now, because holy crap, that was getting old. All he wants to do is use his powers to help people, and all everyone does is tell him, no, don't do that because I told you so. Okay, never mind the fact that he's more equipped to help in most situations than most of them are. They get pissed at him for wanting to use his powers to fight bad guys and make the world a better place, and I get that they're worried about him. But he's obviously dead set on doing this with or without their approval. So I kind of just want to smack these people until they get off his back and let the poor kid just go be a superhero already. Jesus Christ. Seriously, what is the problem here? They keep telling us how Wally is faster than Barry was at this stage, when Barry was already fighting evil metahumans. So it's okay for Barry, but not okay for Wally. Okay, Wally did kind of bring up that double standard previously, but they never really explained why everyone's acting like this. At least not to a satisfactory extent. I mean, past a certain point, it just starts to feel ridiculous. Okay, and here Wally helps Barry with Savitar, and then they just kind of get over this hump of not wanting Wally to be a superhero off screen, and then he gets his kid Flash costume for Christmas, and suddenly everyone's just cool with it now. You know, a conversation between Wally and Joe and Barry and Iris where they finally hashed all that out would have been nice. But it just kind of seemed like it resolved itself. But then we come to the Barry stuff. Oh, man. They decide that the best way to stop Savitar is to throw that box with the thing in it into the Speed Force, so as to stop anyone from ever opening it. It seems like a pretty big risk to take when dropping the box into the Mariana Trench or something probably would have done the trick just as well, but I'll give them this one. So Barry and Jay managed to open a portal to the Speed Force or something, but apparently some wires got crossed and Barry ends up several months in the future, at the exact moment when Savitar murders Iris. Convenient. Now, Barry had been pretty tolerable this week up until this point, but here's where he reverts to form. Because that's what Barry always does. First, he's desperate to return to the future to save Iris, being too stupid to understand that there's no point in doing that because it hasn't happened yet. Let alone that we're just one fucking week removed from Barry learning that his last attempt to change time for his own personal gain created a butterfly effect so massive that it nearly wiped out an entire alien civilization on the other side of the goddamn universe. So if you were expecting genuine character growth to come out of that, I hope you weren't holding your breath. Okay, so they have a little chat about this, and first, it looks like Jay has talked some sense into him. It's just one possible future. Everything we do changes the course of events, and blah, blah, blah. But then Barry comes back, and he decides to keep the news about Iris's impending murder a secret. So instead of telling everyone what's going to happen, where and when it's going to happen, so they can prepare for it, make some kind of plan, take steps to ensure that Iris will be safe when the time comes, put contingencies in place and whatnot, Barry decides to just keep this to himself. Because when every single thing he does is potentially changing the future where Iris gets murdered, Barry has chosen a course of action to do nothing different whatsoever, thus ensuring that Iris will get murdered. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't lose sleep if they killed Iris off. And hell, I suggested they do it a few weeks ago. Her role on the show is becoming increasingly pointless. She only seems to exist anymore to be Barry's charisma fucking chemistry deficient love interest and to nag Wally for everything he does. But this is baffling. Barry gets it drilled into him that this is just one possible future. That everything is always in motion. That every change creates different possibilities. And yet he chooses to change nothing. It's not like he'd be screwing up the timeline in this case. He'd just be acting differently to affect the course of events that haven't happened yet. This isn't changing the timeline, this is just doing whatever you fucking do normally. And didn't we just fucking do a storyline about how Barry knows something really important because of his time traveling and chooses to keep it a secret? He kept the Flashpoint repercussions a secret and it blew up in his face. Then he tried to keep that message from future Barry a secret last week and that made him look like a self-centered asshole. And now he's just doing the same fucking thing again! And this time he's withholding information that might save someone's life! And not just anyone, this is the woman that he supposedly loves! And the bizarre thing is, there's really no reason at all for him to not tell everyone immediately. If he tells them, then they've got several months to come up with some kind of a game plan to prevent this from happening. But by not telling them, he's just ensuring that they'll be caught with their pants down. By doing nothing, he's allowing this future to become a reality, and I don't understand why. He's essentially allowing a future to be created wherein the woman he supposedly loves gets murdered right in front of his face when there are a million things he could be doing to prevent it. I throw up my hands, guys. Yeah, I'm not going to say this episode was a complete disaster because there were things I liked here. John Wesley's ship. Whenever he's on the show, it's good. The stuff with Julian was actually well handled, and this crap with everybody trying to stop Wally from being a superhero looks like it's done now, finally. And the way they resolved it was pretty clumsy, but at least it's finished. Everything else left me very confused. Barry's actions here make no sense to me. I have no idea what his motivation is, and at this stage of the game, trying to figure it out would just be an exercise in futility. Wow. There goes my throat again, damn it. I thought this episode wasn't that bad, the Cisco thing aside, until the last 15 minutes pulled it down. It just proves that Barry is still an idiot that never learns from past mistakes. You just hit it right on the head there. This is a fucking lesson that he just learned, he should have just learned twice. And he's making the same fucking mistake again. I want to murder this character. Jesus Christ. Oh. Julian being alchemy was the only logical choice. There was only one other option, HR, and anything else wouldn't have worked. I disagree. They could have had alchemy be someone we haven't met yet. Why did alchemy have to be a character that we've already met? He could have just been somebody else. Frankly, they could have had his identity be unimportant. Compared to his actions. There were other options. They didn't have to go with the most obvious one imaginable. They could have done other things with this. It just takes creativity. HR wouldn't work for a wide variety of reasons. All they have is Julian. Disagree. Let's see. Caitlin or HR being the traitor and Iris dying is too easy. My guess is Cisco ends up being the traitor and Joe dies. Plus, what if when Cisco vibes Caitlin, it wasn't him stopping her, it was her stopping him? Who knows? Let's see. Based on what little information we have, if someone's going to die, I think my guess would be HR. Because there's tons of Harrison Wells out there. This is the third one we've seen. They could just go into the multiverse and pull out another one. Just like they did this season. Or they could go get Harry back. Be what I'd want them to do. So my guess is HR is going to be the one to die. Who would betray them? Well, Caitlin would be too obvious. Probably means it would, of course, doesn't mean they wouldn't have it be Caitlin. Be a little too on the nose, though, because she's already kind of teasing the heel turn. Cisco, maybe? I could see that. Because there's been all this drama with Cisco and Barry having that falling out and not speaking, and Barry and Cisco resenting him because of what happened to his brother, and then they kind of made up and now they put it behind him apparently, and so there's been work done to kind of repair that relationship after damage was done to it. So to have Cisco be the traitor after that makes sense. That would have some kind of a punch to it. So I can see Cisco being the traitor. I really hope Joe is not the one to die. He's one of the few characters on this show that are still likable. He's also one of the best actors in the cast. They need Joe to stick around. They can get rid of Iris. I don't care. She's boring. Let's see. Flash characters are fucking dumbasses, and in other news, fire is really hot. Remember in Season 1 where Eddie got sucked into the Speed Force? Savitar may be Eddie. When did that happen? No, didn't Eddie die? No, Eddie killed himself. He didn't get sucked into the Speed Force, did he? Or am I remembering wrong? I'm totally cool with Iris dying. I'd prefer her to be Big Sis and Hot Pursuit as the girlfriend, but whatever, I'm not shocked. Yeah. Although, the way I heard it, in the Flash Rebirth comics, Barry and Iris's marriage has been retconned into oblivion. That they no longer got married. Their marriage is gone. It never happened. Barry is now a single guy in the comics, and he's dating Patty Spivot. So, the marriage isn't canon anymore. So, the show is not beholden to follow anything in regards to that relationship. Not that it was ever beholden to the comics in the first place, but I mean, there was never anything stopping it from doing its own thing, but the marriage is not canon anymore. So, Barry does kind of deserve it, seeing as he's caused a holocaust on some other planet. Well, yeah, not just that. He's caused 2 extinction-level events on his own planet before that ever happened, so really, he's up to 3 now. And he's supposed to be the hero. Oh, God. Oh, wow. That was one possible future that Barry saw. The future isn't set in stone and their choices are still theirs, so it may or may not happen, which is why Jay told him that he shouldn't have seen it. Yeah. But the way Jay explained this is that every choice that we make creates different outcomes. So, doesn't it stand to reason that Barry should be doing tons of stuff that he wouldn't normally do? I mean, okay, so he goes 5 months into the future. All right. Okay. Here is point X right here. All right. This is where he goes into the future. So from point X all the way to point Y. All right. This is the future right here. This is the present. This is 5 months in the future. Everything in between is up in the air. So if you want to stop this from becoming this, you got to change what happens in here. Okay. So if you think of it like like a simple arithmetic problem, simple math, here is 2 plus x equals 4. Now you'd think if you want x, I'm not explaining this very well. If you don't want this to be 4, then you got to change x, right? So instead of a 2, you do a 3, or a 4, or a 5, or a 1, or something. So in order to change this, you got to change what happens in here. So it stands to reason that Barry should be doing different stuff. He shouldn't he shouldn't be doing what he just does normally. He shouldn't be pretending like it's not going to happen. He shouldn't be keeping it a secret. He should be telling everybody so they can do different things, so they can act in ways that they wouldn't normally act in order to create a different outcome. And yet he's just keeping it a secret. Makes no goddamn sense to me. Doesn't matter if it's in the past, present, or future, the fault is always Barry's. Yeah. Pretty much. Julian being alchemy is just writing 101. It's the only logical end result that they could go for. Even if he's not evil, he's sick. It's a bit too much. You know, it may have been writing 101. It was just way too basic for me. Look, TV fans are really sophisticated these days. They're smart. They don't need things like this spoon-fed to them. They can handle intelligent writing. I want the show to challenge its audience and not write down to them like they're idiots. Yeah, it was writing 101. How about writing 201? Writing for the advanced class, you know? If writing 101 is writing for kindergartners, try writing at a first grade level. Do something different. Do something that's harder to figure out. The future is set in stone. If people exist in the future, then now is their past, which according to Jay isn't supposed to be fucked up. So our future is their present and their past is now. Dude, don't try to figure out this time travel bullshit. The writers themselves obviously have no idea what they're doing. Don't try to figure it out. You're going to give me a migraine. You're going to give yourself a migraine. None of us are going to enjoy it. Just don't try to make excuses for this shit. Am I hearing an echo? You might. You might be. Hang on. Something weird happens with the audio. Because when I turn it off in the Wirecast software, for some reason that mutes the sound so you guys can't hear anything. I tried figuring this out a couple different ways, and it seemed inconsistent. So instead of trying to turn something off and risk just killing the audio entirely, I figured out a workaround, and I just plugged my earbuds into the computer. So if you're hearing an echo, that's the earbuds. That's coming from the earbuds. A little low tech, but I'm not terribly good with computers and machinery in general, so did the best I could. I think Barry is going to be Savitar and dies fighting him, thus making Wally the new Flash. You know, I'd accept that. Wally became the Flash for a long time in the comics. If they wanted to do that, I'd be okay with it. Those events have happened because Legends shows their future exists, so the future happened already, ergo their No. That's the thing with time travel, it's really, really complicated. Yeah, obviously too complicated for these writers to figure it out. If you have a secret character be someone we never met, then there's no reason to make his identity a secret. Except, once you do that, the mystery must by definition have an answer. Not necessarily. It's the same thing. It's just comic book logic. you wear a mask to hide your identity because you don't want anyone knowing who you are. They're not doing it just because the person is secretly someone we've met before. It can be for any number of reasons. It's just how mysteries work. You can't say someone was murdered by a traitor, then at the end it turns out that no one was murdered at all. It would feel asinine. And okay, why did you quit uploading on your other channel? It took a while for me to figure out you were still around as you were sick at the time. Why did you stop uploading there? I stopped uploading on the other channel because there was some kind of screw up with YouTube. They hit me with some bullshit copyright strike, and they said that my account had a strike against it because I had violated the community guidelines, which I had not done. So I got in touch with Google. I informed them that a mistake had been made, and we got it all worked out, and my account was reinstated, but there's still a strike against it when it comes to streaming. So the Fool Killer 99 account is still there. It still works, except I can't stream from it for now. Now they say the strike would be removed after 6 months. So when that time is up, I'll be back to using that channel again. But for now, I have to stream from the backup account because YouTube can't get its shit together. Now, I tried figuring out why the strike is still there and why I can't stream from the primary account right now. I couldn't figure it out. It's just YouTube being YouTube. So don't unsubscribe from the Fool Killer 99 account. I will be going back to that account once the strike has been lifted. It's just there's still a little time left before that happens. Eddie did kill himself, but then his body was sucked into the portal. I think it was the Speed Force, maybe? Well, maybe, but he'd still be dead, wouldn't he? Don't be shocked if they find a way to undo the damage Flashpoint caused. Cisco's brother lives, Dig's daughter comes back to life. Oh, I wouldn't put it past him. Because God forbid Barry have to live with the consequences of his actions, right? God forbid that he have to account for any of his screw-ups without something letting him off the hook, right? God forbid. Because when Oliver screws up, he has to live with the consequences of his mistakes. But Barry Allen, fuck that noise. He always gets off the hook. If they undo Flashpoint, doesn't that kill Dig's son? Probably. Then again, it would bring baby Sarah back to life. Or at least you'd think it would. But in order for that to work out, then the rules of time travel on these shows would have to have some kind of logic and internal consistency, and they sure as hell don't have that. I appreciate the feeling of it being too basic. Julian was alchemy, believe me, I do, but they didn't prepare it beforehand. Now, really, it's not basic because it's not properly set up, unlike, say, 10 Little Indians where the killer is obvious, but there are multiple possible twists, so basically the writers screwed up again. Well, there's something we agree on. Okay. Moving on to Arrow. Season 5. Episode 9, What We Leave Behind. Prometheus attacks Curtis outside Oliver's Christmas party, so the team does some detective work that leads them to Prometheus, but Artemis turns on them before they can take him down. Curtis admits to Paul that he works with the Green Arrow, and Paul responds by leaving him. Then Prometheus proceeds to set Dig up to get captured by the authorities, kidnap Felicity's boyfriend, trick Oliver into killing Felicity's boyfriend, and then the big cliffhanger, Laurel is alive. Holy shit, Arrow. That's how you do a mid-season finale. This was good. This was like season 2 good. But before I get to that, let me bitch about something first. Because that's just what I do. I've been thinking about the Artemis twist for a while now, and something seems off to me. A few weeks ago, they did an episode where the new recruits found out that Oliver was the Hood, and that killing bad guys used to be his first resort rather than his last resort, and they were upset about this. This was mainly shown through Artemis. She was the main person who was offended that someone she believed in was a killer and blah blah blah. So her and Oliver had to work that out. They had a little bit of a falling out and they had to repair that. But if she was a traitor the whole time, why act offended by something that he did at all? If the point was to ingratiate herself to him, to get close to him, to make him trust her, shouldn't she have been going out of her way to act like the perfect teammate who didn't have any problems with Oliver? If you think about it, by getting offended and upset with Oliver, by fostering mistrust between them, she was doing the opposite of what would help her plan. Retroactively, her behavior in that episode really doesn't add up. But anyway, as for this episode, best episode of the season, by a mile. It's not even close. They really brought their A game for this one, and I love that I can say that about an episode that was actually pretty light on the action. I mean, the action scenes are what this show really gets praised for, but when they can do an episode this good without relying so much on that, that takes work. It shows that the producers can maintain or even raise the quality of the show without using the action as a crutch. But when you've got good writing and an interesting scenario to work with, the action isn't so critical. Now look at the whole scene where Oliver goes to confront Prometheus at the end. Rather than do some big slam bang action set piece, they scale things back by doing something by going for suspense instead, and doing some creative stuff with the set dressing and the location. Oliver's searching through this building, retracing the steps he took 5 years ago when he was hunting down Claiborne, and they keep cutting back and forth between the past and the present, and that was really cool. And the first time in a while that I was actually kind of riveted by the flashbacks. And then the set with all the mirrors and the creative visuals was awesome, and I totally got how Oliver made the mistake that he did there, because visually it looked very confusing and disorienting. I thought he was shooting Prometheus too. Did not see it coming when it turned out to be Felicity's boyfriend. Great fucking twist. And here's the best part. Oliver made a mistake. What does he do about it? He doesn't keep it a secret. He doesn't wait for it to blow up in his face. He immediately goes to Felicity, tells her what happened, and owns up to it like a man. And stuff like that is why Oliver is a real hero and why Barry Allen is a piece of shit. That was a great scene, too. A very powerful moment. And I loved that everybody was a fucking adult about it. No one acted like a fucking child. No one blamed Oliver for acting impulsively or whatever. They all kept it in perspective. If Felicity is really upset, but she recognizes who the real person to blame here is. Wow. Where the hell was this Felicity last season? And then Oliver almost falls back into that mode where he thinks everything is his fault and that he's a toxic presence to everyone around him, which he has an annoying habit of doing way too much. But then the team doesn't let him do it. There's no action required here. It's just drama and character work, and that's all it takes because it's really well written and well acted. And going back to the flashbacks for a second, I really got a kick out of them cutting back to a period that must have taken place during the first few episodes of the series. We see the original Arrow Cave and Felicity's tech support office, and those are really cool Easter eggs for longtime viewers. If they hadn't already done the 100th episode last week, this could have been it. This could have functioned as the 100th episode, and I'd have been happy. They had enough callbacks for it to feel really fitting. Not the least of which being Laurel. Holy shit, how did that happen? I don't know. But I can't wait to see how they explain this. Now, I read something today that it might be because of Flashpoint, which really doesn't make sense. Because everyone still remembers Laurel dying exactly the way it happened. So, so what changed? Everyone still remembers it, so it's she still died. Nothing changed in that regard. So, how could Flashpoint have affected it? I don't know. I'm going to cross my fingers and hope they got a good explanation for this. Now, of the resurrection itself, I'm of two minds. On the one hand, Arrow used to have a set of brass balls when it came to not being afraid to kill off important characters, and the stakes always felt really high because of that. But somewhere along the way, it stopped being a show that took no prisoners and became the show that was bringing dead characters back to life all the time until character deaths really didn't have the same meaning that they used to. And whether you loved it or hated it, Laurel's death last season did have meaning. Now, on the other side of that coin, I was kind of annoyed when they killed her. It took them 4 fucking seasons to turn Laurel into a likable character, and just when I'd finally gotten to a place when I wasn't irritated by her mere presence anymore and actually started to like having her around, they got rid of her. That didn't sit right with me, when it felt like there was a lot more that they could have done with her. So I'm torn between rolling my eyes at yet another character coming back to life and just being glad that she's back. But I think the latter is winning out. And that's a good thing. And the cliffhangers are great too. Prometheus orchestrates Dig getting captured, and who knows what happened to Lila and the kid. Curtis's husband leaves him, and just when I think the big cliffhanger is going to be the reveal of Prometheus's identity, that it's going to be something really fucking obvious like that increasingly suspicious-looking DA, they go for something completely out of left field, and hey, it's Laurel, she's alive again. Didn't see that one coming. It's a really great ending. If I had to pick one thing about the episode that wasn't so strong, it was that Artemis turning on Oliver when she did felt like kind of a waste. It seemed to me that she didn't really have to play her cards at that moment. I mean, yeah, Prometheus was about to be outnumbered, but I don't think her turning on them when she did was really necessary. Especially when nothing else really comes from it. I don't think we even see her again after that. It just felt like they played their cards a little too soon with that one. And it would have been a lot more riveting to watch all these horrible things start happening as Prometheus starts, moving his chess pieces around the board and starts manipulating everyone's downfall, while the whole time he still has Artemis as a mole on the team, unbeknownst to everyone. They had a great setup for something really cool there, and they just didn't use it. That bugged me a little bit. But it wasn't nearly enough to ruin this episode. Arrow hit a home run with this one. Great drama, great plot twists. Prometheus has really developed into a compelling villain. Just a really excellent episode overall here. A few guesses would be that it's A, Black Siren posing as her, B, she faked her death, or C, the dream Laurel jumped through when the others did manifested in the real world. And that'd be a little too sci-fi for this show. Black Siren posing as her? I suppose it's possible, but how would she do it? How could she get through the portal? She doesn't have that kind of power. I'm going to go with she faked her death somehow. No idea how she did it, how she could have done it, but it is the most plausible explanation I've heard anyone posit so far. I'll go with that. On LOT, Al Capone teams up with the Legion of Doom. Wow. And I bet it didn't change the future in any way at all, did it? No, if just one tiny little change can cause an alien genocide on the other side of the universe, No, something insanely crazy like that, that doesn't change a damn thing. Yeah, okay. The producers have said that Laurel's return is real, not a dream or a hallucination. They said it was another effect of Flashpoint. Oh, for fuck's sake. That doesn't make sense, though. Everyone remembers her dying. She died. They buried her. It still happened. So what? How could Flashpoint account for this? Okay, if Flashpoint changed things to where she didn't die, then their memories would have changed to adjust to the new timeline, so they wouldn't they wouldn't think she died. They think she was still alive somehow. It's just fucking time travel. God, oh. It almost seems that Laurel has become a more popular character than Felicity. Who would have thought that would ever happen? I don't know if she's more popular than Felicity. I do think the gap has narrowed somewhat. Because Laurel has, over the last season and a half, become more likable, become less grating, whereas Felicity was, well, let's be honest, the writing for Felicity for the last 2 seasons really hasn't been the best. And I think they did build up a little bit of animus against Felicity, with the whole breakup with Oliver and just how horribly that was handled. So I think overall Felicity is probably still more popular, but I don't think that gap between them is as wide as it used to be. Not nearly. Part of this is because they're trying to do the Judas contract, but they don't have Tara, so they used Artemis. Part of this, I figure Artemis isn't really a traitor. In retrospect, Laurel is actually less of a bitch than Felicity is now. So yeah, it's stunning. You're not far off, actually. Really, Season 2 was the worst for Laurel. She was fucking unbearable in Season 2. Ever since then, she's been slowly getting better. Slowly. Most of Season 3 was a fucking slog to get through with Laurel, but she started making progress, gradually, and I did like her for most of last season, even though she did occasionally slip back into, Season 2 Laurel mode, where I just want to punch her in the face all the time. But, she give her credit. Laurel has made progress. So she's been slowly been coming up, and Felicity's slowly been coming down. So it's not. I don't know. The difference isn't so pronounced anymore. I have no idea why they're saying that killing the guys on the list was bad. We know they were a terrorist organization planning to commit genocide. What's the problem? Yeah, they didn't know that at the time, though. My guess is that Felicity's new boyfriend was vigilante was dead wrong. Yeah. Even if it were a terrorist group, so what? Rich asswipe kills hundreds of people. You know he'll bribe a jury and get off. Why not kill him? Yeah, pretty much. We know he was creating a bioweapon just to gouge his customers on the vaccine. Fucker like that doesn't deserve to live. The world's better off without a guy like that. So, if Oliver wanted to kill that piece of shit, I'm not going to stop him. I'm not going to complain. I don't know why anyone else would have a problem with that, honestly. That's not vigilantism. That's a functional crime justice system personified in one guy with a hood. My guess is that the DA is Prometheus. Well, a lot of signs are pointing to him right now. And you're probably right. Because he just seems like the obvious choice. I really, really hope he's a red herring. but I don't know. I think the Arrow writers are good enough that they can make this work. They can have him be a red herring. Doesn't have to be this guy. It can be somebody else. Hell, it could be Tommy for all we know. Because I don't think all the flashbacks to season 1 were an accident or a coincidence. I think those were done on purpose. I think this is all meant to tie back to the beginnings of the show somehow. So this character, Prometheus, he has some kind of a connection to Oliver from early on. I think there were a lot of subtle clues in this episode. So they're leaving a trail of breadcrumbs here. We just have to figure out where it leads to. Holy shit, you're right. If they remember her dying, then how did Flashpoint bring her back? It's a good question, huh? I will be very, very disappointed if the writers don't answer that. Because the Flash writers, they wouldn't bother answering that question. The Arrow writers are supposed to be better than that. Arrow writers are good enough to come up with a logical explanation for this. They can do it. I'm rooting for them. I'm in the cheering section, rooting for. I'm cheering them on. They can do it. I really hope they can do it. Artemis was mad because Oliver changed his way by not killing people right. Oliver changed his ways by not killing people right when she sees it. As if he was season 1 Oliver, he would have been killed. Damien Dark before he killed her parents. Doesn't matter. She was still there she was still there on a mission. By getting upset with him at all, she was fostering mistrust between them, and thus risking blowing her cover. If she was smart, if she really was there to act as a traitor, to betray the team, then she would try to be acting like the perfect teammate, who is completely trustworthy. Even if she was upset with him for whatever reason, doesn't matter. I don't know. It didn't make sense to me. It didn't. Let's see. I said she faked her death when it happened, so maybe they all remember because of that, and maybe Oliver knows the truth. Oliver knows the truth, huh? I don't know, man. He did look pretty surprised when she was there, and when she showed up. We saw him react to her being there. We didn't hear him say he thought she was dead. Maybe the others remember her fake death, and only he knows the truth. Who knows? Maybe I've given them too much credit. Poor Quentin. How are they going to explain to him that his other daughter followed in Sarah's footsteps and is back from the dead? Quentin's head is going to shoot right off his neck, man. That poor bastard. He has 2 kids who have died and come back to life 3 times between them. No wonder the poor fucker turned to alcohol. I need a drink too. Jesus Christ. They're gonna need to break. They're gonna need to find a way to break this to him gently. The poor guy. The poor guy is. He's gonna have a fucking heart attack when he finds out about. Talk about a fucking roller coaster this poor schmuck has been on. Jesus. Oh wow. His reaction is gonna be something else, man. I'll tell you. And he's got a heart condition. Why wouldn't that be something else? If they take Laurel to him, it's like, hey, Dad, I'm alive again. And then he just has a heart attack and drops dead. Because it's the 3rd time he's been through this. Oh, man. Also, this is how you set up a mystery character. They had like 6 possibilities, male and female, and if it turns out to be the DA or Tommy, it would make perfect sense. I'll give him that. There are more possibilities than just the DA, definitely. Yep. Um, DA is not Prometheus, he's Vigilante. We'll see. They set up Felicity's boyfriend, the DA, Tommy, Laurel for crying out loud, Oliver's new love interest, Mr. Terrific's boyfriend, and the dead rich guy's son. All those all great choices. Any one of them could be Prometheus, so if he is the DA, that is hardly a bad choice. If it turns out to be Oliver's new girlfriend, that works too. Well, Prometheus looks like a dude, but okay, I'll give you that. I hope it's not. I hope it's not Reporter Lady, because I'm liking her a lot, actually. She's growing on me really fast. I actually like them together. More than a little bit. You see that their scenes together. There's a genuine connection growing there. I'm actually really liking them together in this relationship, and I gotta be honest. After the way the whole thing with Felicity ended last season, I'm in no hurry to see those two get back together. I actually kind of like Felicity a lot more since they broke up. Of course, that doesn't mean the way they broke up wasn't complete bullshit. She's a lot more tolerable now. Let's see. This is how you set up a mystery, so even the obvious choice isn't the most obvious. This is writing 201. There you go. And the Arrow producer said Laurel had been back, had nothing to do with Flashpoint. Well, is it because of Flashpoint, or isn't it? Because you guys are saying two different things here. We'll find out. I really hope that her being alive again is not because of Flashpoint, because that would indicate that the Arrow writers had a plan when they killed her off, and they probably always intended to bring her back. So it would imply that they do have an explanation for this that'll probably make sense. I really hope that's the case. Moving on to our final show of the night, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Season 4, Episode 8, The Laws of Inferno Dynamics. So Uncle Eli and his people are holed up in a warehouse where he has created a nuke out of thin air, because he can do that now. A nuke which he intends to set off because evil. So the team goes in, Yo-Yo almost gets blown up by a giant fireball, things between Coulson and Mace come to a head, Robbie confronts Uncle Eli, Ada saves the day with another dimensional portal, Daisy gets outed to the public, but Mace gets her off the hook for all that shady stuff she did. Robbie and Uncle Eli get sucked away to God knows where, so Robbie is gone now, but the day is won. So the crisis is seemingly over, Daisy is back with S.H.I.E.L.D., Coulson and May flirt a lot, and for the moment we have peace in our time, and then we find out that Ada has replaced May with an LMD. Because the sentient human-looking robot, who has been given multiple reasons to turn evil, has finally decided to turn evil. You know, I hate to be a broken record about the Ex Machina thing, but I feel like if just one member of the team had bothered to see that movie, this whole thing with Ada could have been prevented. But hindsight is 20/20, isn't it? Something I appreciated about this episode is that the big crisis with Eli and the earthquakes actually had some kind of a basis in real science. The laws of physics say that nothing can really be created or destroyed, so Eli isn't actually creating matter, he's stealing it from some other dimension, which is what's causing shit to get fucked up, hence the earthquakes. That was actually nice. That made sense, you know? I like when shows take the effort to actually explain things rather than just making shit up as they go along like The Flash does. Yeah, it's science fiction, but We're supposed to suspend our disbelief with this stuff, but the best sci-fi shows only require you to do that as much as absolutely necessary, and no more. Because the further you have to suspend your disbelief, the more cheap and lazy everything feels. So when there's actually some kind of real scientific basis for what's happening, that's really cool. That's smart writing. That says to me that, wow, the producers actually did research and stuff to make sure that they didn't insult the audience's intelligence. That was really nice of them. And I appreciate that. Now, conversely, I think something that made this feel not as strong as last season's winter finale is that it was lacking some kind of big emotional gut punch. And that's to be expected, really, because, last season we were getting the big conclusion to the Grant Ward story that had been building up for 2.5 years. So the stakes were very high. And we had multiple characters in huge, horrifyingly desperate situations. Now, not that the stakes weren't high here because there is a nuke in play, but the emotions weren't as heightened, and people were keeping it cool for the most part, as opposed to the winter finale last season. I guess the big emotional crux of the episode is supposed to be the stuff with Robbie and Uncle Eli. But they'd shared very little screen time before this, and we only really heard about their relationship that they had before Eli went evil. We never really saw it. So, while I still felt like this did what it needed to do, it was missing that visceral feeling you get when an episode just grabs you by the throat and doesn't let go. And I think part of that just comes from seasons 1, 2, and 3 being one complete story, whereas with 4, they were starting a new one. So whatever they're developing is still in the early stages. That doesn't mean there wasn't closure, though, because this could have functioned as a season finale. All the stuff with Ghost Rider, Uncle Eli, the Darkhold, Daisy going rogue, and the team not trusting Mace was all tied up for the most part. And certain story threads are still unresolved, but most of the big plot points came to a head and got addressed and tied up before we get to the Ada cliffhanger and the stinger. So they're taking a different approach with the narrative this season. I think the producers said that Season 4 has 3 different story arcs, or pods, as they called it. So there was Ghost Rider, next is LMD, and then something else to finish the season off. So instead of one big season, they're doing 3 mini-seasons, I guess. Okay, that's something different. Hopefully it won't stop them from ratcheting up the tension a little bit more for the next 2 arcs. And I think that's very doable. This Ada thing is very creepy already, and there's a lot of unanswered questions here. What exactly was the tipping point that caused Ada to turn evil? How did she rebel against her programming that made her incapable of killing? When exactly did she replace May with the LMD? Was Coulson flirting with a robot the whole episode? Will he have sex with it before he realizes it's a robot? I hope he does. How will May feel about it if he does? What does Ada want to accomplish by replacing May with a robot? Also, did that mention of Koenig at the end mean that we might be seeing Patton Oswalt again soon? I sure hope so. I miss the Koenigs. All really interesting questions here. Plus, I just really like the role reversal of May being the one who needs help for a change. We saw that earlier this season. We're getting it again here, and I like it. May's always the badass. She's always the one who's bailing other people out. I like seeing her being the one who needs to be bailed out. So there's some really good groundwork laid out here for the next story arc, and I'm just excited to see them finally tackle LMDs too. I've been waiting to see that for a while. So there was some great setup for when the show comes back in a few months. There was some great action. The stunt team really earned their paychecks this week with a couple pretty jaw-dropping moments. With Yo-Yo outrunning the giant fireball and Daisy blasting herself into the stratosphere to get rid of all that extra energy she absorbed. And Eli, the Uncle Eli, Darkhold, Ghost Rider plot didn't end with as big a bang as I was hoping it would, but they did drop some hints that Robbie will probably be back from wherever he went at some point this season. And that whole comment about the last Ghost Rider came back, what was that about, Phil? Can you elaborate, Coulson? Can you explain more? Are we going to see Johnny Blaze at some point this season later on? Are we going to see Dan Ketch maybe? Because that'd be pretty cool. Because we know there's another Ghost Rider out there. Probably. We saw in the flashback, right? We're going to see 2 Ghost Riders duking it out? Because I'd like to see that. That'd be awesome. So that was S.H.I.E.L.D.'s winter finale. I don't think it was as strong as the one last year. There were a few weaker elements to this, but it did a lot of cool stuff too. And I'm excited for the LMD arc. So that was S.H.I.E.L.D., and that was my winter finale for the Comic Show Post Show. Yeah. So after this, we're going on a bit of a hiatus for another couple of months too, and I'll still be doing the Impact streams, of course, but I'll have Thursday nights off again. Let's see. My guess is Ada replaced May when Mace sent her to get Ada. May might have slipped up and told Ada that Mace wanted her disassembled, so she knocked May out and made the switch. Yeah, probably. That is probably when it happened, but it's up in the air right now. I think it's pretty interesting that we don't know precisely when the switch happened. It's kind of fascinating to me that maybe it could have happened a lot sooner. We don't know. The producers have said that S.H.I.E.L.D. is a 3-chapter season a 3-chapter season. First with Ghost Rider, now that's done. Chapter 2 LMD for 7 episodes. Then Chapter 3, whoever that new Inhuman is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's probably going to have a lot to do with it, yeah. Speaking of Writing 201, I love how Mace turned out to not be evil, but just not trusting Phil. He's not a bad guy, but he's just new to the team and kind of not sure who to trust. Yeah. That was good. Because, they're a spy organization. They're used to not trusting a lot of people. And they have run into several situations where people that they thought they could trust turned out to not be trustworthy after all. So, of course they're not going to trust this guy. Of course there's going to be problems dealing with him. Of course everyone's going to be keeping their cards really close to the vest. And, of course, Mace is going to have trouble navigating that particular maze. So So were made, and things happened, and they thought they couldn't trust him, but he turned out to be a good guy. Although we still don't know what that secret of his is about, because the public loves him for something that apparently he didn't do, or isn't what they think happened, or something like that. We still don't know what that's about, but it seems like he is actually a good guy, which I like. Since May still had the hole in her neck, I'm guessing Ada replaced her back when May was still seeing ghosts. May was still seeing ghosts. Could it have been that early? I don't know when Ada would have had the opportunity to switch her. Could she have built a May LMD that quickly? Who knows? Shouldn't Coulson know that's not May? It only took him about 2 minutes to come to the realization that Agent 33 wasn't her in Season 2. Well, I think that's the point, is that the LMDs are supposed to be so lifelike that even the people closest to a person can't tell that it's a fake. That's what makes them so dangerous. Yeah, because Agent 33 may have been able to look like May, but she didn't necessarily know how to act like May, because she hadn't been around May that much. Whereas, Ada may have scanned May's brain, scanned all her mental algorithms or whatever the fuck, and know how to duplicate her personality exactly. So I think it makes sense that Coulson wouldn't be able to tell it's not May. Because the whole point of LMDs is to be able to duplicate someone precisely, like down to the smallest detail. Let's see. Molecule Man's powers work that way in the comics too. He can't make things. He pulls from a universe around him, so he has limits to his powers. There actually is a theoretical physics concept that says the same thing. I forgot the name, but you draw mass from outside of normal space-time. It's only theoretical, though. Okay. Interesting reveal that Coulson would have made Daisy the new director if she had not gone rogue. Well, I don't know if he'd made her the new director. He mentioned her being the face of the organization. You wouldn't have to necessarily be the director to be the face. Although, that's definitely hinting at the direction of the show. Daisy was the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. for a time in the comics. And I do think that's been the end point of the series from day one. They're building up to Coulson handing over the reins to Daisy. And if the show lasts for a long time, I think that would be the end. That would be the way the series ends. Whether or not they'll get there is anyone's guess. But I do think that's been what they've been building towards, and they're just hinting at that. It shows that Coulson probably has probably believes that Daisy could have it in her to succeed him as the director, but she's got a lot to learn before that happens. Let's see. Coulson said after Robbie disappeared that the last Ghost Rider came back before. Was it Blaze or Ketch? Who knows? Blaze would be my guess, but, could be anyone, really. Ada is becoming Joe Costa. I was right, saw it a mile away. Very well played, though. Very well established, but I'm not surprised. It's S.H.I.E.L.D. They know how to aim the feeling gun. Yeah, they are generally much better at setting this stuff up than The Flash, aren't they? Do you think S.H.I.E.L.D. got screwed by ABC not showing the Spider-Man Homecoming trailer for the mid-season finale instead of dropping it on Jimmy Kimmel tonight? Are they doing that tonight? Wow. Oh, well, it's probably on... It could be online now, couldn't it? Yeah. I'm annoyed about that. Yeah, they did kind of get screwed a little bit, didn't they? But I guess it's not like they could have had Tom Holland show up. I guess they got Tom Holland on Jimmy Kimmel. I guess they want to premiere it there. But they could have had some clips or like some kind of little preview teaser thing at the end there. Yeah, they did kind of get screwed over a little bit. Let's see. I think I'm also kind of right about Ghost Rider. He wasn't the real one. He was like Vengeance or something, and we will see the real Ghost Rider soon. Man, I don't think so, man. I mean, there's really no reason for him to not be Ghost Rider. He's Ghost Rider in the comics. Why change it if they don't have to? I mean, they've been promoting the fuck out of him as Ghost Rider. They subtitled the fucking show after him. Why do that if he was just going to turn out to be something else? Agent May is really taking a beating this season, first being driven insane by a ghost and now being kidnapped by Ada. Yeah. It's a role reversal. May is a lot more vulnerable this season, and I like that. Now, other characters kind of have to step into that role and be like the person who saves the day for a change, because it's usually May. Now, the one that they can always rely on to just kick everybody's ass suddenly is the vulnerable one. So it's putting the characters into new situations, and I like that. Something else. Molecule Man and Ghost Rider are not dead, not remotely. He's a demigod, and Ghost Rider is a demon. Some fire doesn't kill people like that, even nuclear fire. Make no mistake, Molecule Man is hurt, but he's not dead. In the comics, his face is all scarred up. That probably explains what he'll look like when he comes back, and he will come back. Who knows? I hope Ada is a better villain than these ghosts and Eli because they suck. Okay. I disagree with you on that. I think they may have a more compelling scenario with Ada just because there's been a lot of build-up for Ada. There's been more build-up for Ada. Ada, we had to, the ghosts just kind of got sprung on us when the season started, whereas Ada was kind of being built up in the background, and so now there's build-up there that we didn't have with the ghosts. So I would suspect Ada might be more compelling in that regard, but I think you're selling the ghosts and Uncle Eli short. They didn't suck. I think it would have been better. Would have been better twist if May were dead instead. I know that's horrific, but think of the impact that would have had. You're right. That would be horrific. But you'd have everyone and their brother crying, playing the fridging card, though. Would it be horrific? I don't think it would be appropriate, though. I think May would have deserved a better send off than that, than to have her death be done for shock value. That's how you kill a supporting character, not someone who's been in the main cast since season one. Um, it would be horrific. You're not wrong about that. That would have made Rosalind dying last season look like an MLP episode. May and Phil have been star-crossed love interests since the first episode's opening credits. Her dying and being replaced by an LND. Holy shit. Star-crossed love interests? If they were, it was way, way, way under the surface. I personally, I never really got a vibe between them until this season when they started playing it up more. Personally, I never saw them as romantic. I didn't. I preferred them as just friends. Obviously they're pushing towards some kind of a romantic connection this season. They're definitely highlighting it more than they ever have. So I guess that's something they want to explore now. But prior to this season, I never really saw it. I would have been. I had no real desire to see it explored. Now, they're going down that road now, and okay, fine. A lot of people have been wanting to see it. I'm not one of them, but okay, I really wanted Ada to become S.H.I.E.L.D.'s Data. The idea of her being a secret weapon and being around humans trying to become more human could have made for some good storytelling. Yeah, that would have been fun. But it's, human-looking robot. I guess she had to go evil eventually. It's just the rules. Yeah, really enjoyed Ada. I wish she weren't going to the dark side, but at the same time, it was set up really well. At least it's not like Caitlyn turning into Queen Elsa for no reason. Oh, man, dude, don't get me started on that again. Yeah, at least with Ada, you understand. There's a reason why she's turning evil. It's not like she's turning evil because superpowers just made her go evil because of some unexplained magic or some shit. There are reasons for why this is happening, and they make sense, and we understand them. It's not happening for no fucking reason at all. What do you think of the Boomerang web show? The Boomerang web show? I have no idea what that is. Do you mean the Slingshot? The Slingshot web show? Starring Yo-Yo? Is that what you're talking about? Because I'm excited to see that. Yo-Yo's a lot of fun. And we got something to tide us over during the winter break. I think it's cool. If that's not what you're referring to, then I'm not sure. Also, they did a good job making us feel bad for Ada, seeing her get shot and feeling all that pain. Yeah, that was strange, wasn't it? Why would you make a robot feel pain? Why would you program her to feel pain if she was created to save shield agents' lives, to protect them, and you program her to feel pain if she gets shot? It seems odd to me. Although I did feel bad for her actually. Simmons did too. Simmons, the one who previously was referring to her Ada as an it, she seemed like she was feeling some sympathy there. Of course, Ada did just save her life. Um, Caitlin, let it go, let it go. Can't hold it back anymore. Also, screw you, Barry. Because if she can't feel pain, people will know she's a robot in seconds. Yeah, I know. Someone steps on her foot or drops something on her hand, she doesn't recoil or react at all, and then bang, people know. Well, she could act like she feels pain. Doesn't mean she actually has to feel it. I mean, she can register that something hit her, and she can act accordingly. Doesn't mean that she has to actually feel the pain, you know. Um, and it looks like that's going to do it. I guess that'll be it. So that was our winter finale. So all the shows are on hiatus now. So I will be back with so we can finish this season off in a couple of months. I think. I'm not sure when the shows start up again. January, February, March, one of those. It'll be a while. So when we come back, I might be back to streaming on the primary channel. Yeah, we'll see. In the meantime, I'm still streaming the Impact reviews every week. So we should be doing those every Saturday. I'm not going to be able to. I'm not going to be able to watch Impact live next Thursday because I'm going to be at the movie theater seeing Rogue One. So I guess I'll have to watch that. I have to find that online somewhere and watch it afterwards. Shouldn't be a problem. All this stuff all goes online pretty quickly anyway. So thanks everybody for joining me. Good questions. Had a lot of fun tonight. I will talk to you people on Saturday. And yeah, that's it. Good talk tonight, guys. Peace out. See you on Saturday.